What's going on? What's going on, family? What's going on? What's going on, my wealthy family? We talking wealth today, specifically permanent insurance. I'm gonna give a few minutes for people to go ahead and jump on. We're gonna talk a little bit more about money and bid you farewell for the night. What's going on? Welcome, 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 everyone. I hope everyone had a prosperous day today and also a peaceful and productive day. I did. I'm hoping the same for you all. All right, I'm going to give a few more minutes for everybody to log on here. We're talking wealth with Jay tonight. Specifically, we're going to talk about permanent insurance policies and answer any financial questions you guys or any financial wealth building questions you guys may have tonight. All right. Who we got in the building? Uh, Good evening, wonderful people, wonderful people. Once again, we're talking wealth with Jay tonight. We're going to talk about another aspect, another asset in the aspects of wealth building tonight. And I want to answer any financial and/or wealth building questions you guys may have tonight. I want to take a few minutes to let people get in. I know it could have been a long day. A lot of us work, and/or we have a business, and/or we have a spouse, and/or we have kids. So I want to give everybody a few minutes to get settled in, jump on this call, get this wealth talk, and I'm going to bid you guys farewell. And we'll be getting started in about 2 minutes from now. All right. We'll be getting started in about 2 minutes. All right, come one, come all. Let's talk about this thing called wealth. That's the goal and objective for us to achieve is wealth. All right. We got Minnesota in the building. Alicia, do not miss. She stay on track, as Lil Wayne says, as a box Pumas. All right, Miss Brown, what's going down? Good evening. All right, Miss Coleman, good to have you in the building. All right, we got 60 more seconds, and we're going to talk about wealth. The main component tonight we're talking about is permanent life insurance policies. We're going to focus a little bit on whole life more so. And then we want to answer any financial or wealth building questions you guys may have for me. So get these questions ready. Put me to the test. Try to stump Jay Joseph, the financial wealth advisor. I want to be a resource to answer all the financial inquiries that you guys do have. So ask your questions, no matter how big, no matter how small it is. Ask your questions. You will receive some kind of insight, information, inspiration, and/or guidance. All right. This community is here for you all. I am here for you all. I'm working for you all tonight. All right, 7:05. We're going live. All right. Thank you guys yet again for what? Investing your time with me. My goal is to get you guys a rate of return on your time that you're spending with me tonight. So tonight I want to talk about, we already talked about wealth, right? We should already identify why we're looking to achieve and build this thing called wealth. We should also know what is wealth. And now we need to talk about what asset classes do we need to have in order to build, keep, grow, transfer the wealth that we actually have and that we actually will make. Now, in the comment section, how many people have actually made money with life insurance? Is it just an expense, or have you made money, a rate of return with your life insurance? Can you make money with life insurance? All right. Thank you. Thank you. So we have not. Is it possible to make money with life insurance? So far, just an expense. Yeah. So most of us have not. All right. So I want to talk about that, right? So now let's look at it from this angle. The first time we talked about term insurance and we identified what, and that's correct. You're absolutely correct. We can make money when it comes to life insurance, but we need to see how. But we talked about the first week, previous weeks that we spoke, we talked about this thing called a term policy. A term insurance policy, it is an expense. This expense pays a rate of return, a payout in case someone were to pass. Death is inevitable. It will happen to us all. But what's also a high probability of happening to us all is either a disability, long-term care, Alzheimer's disease, a chronic illness, a critical injury, or even a chronic injury. These things can happen to us, and that expense that we're paying in a premium for a term policy will cover these things. Just as I have medical insurance. I pay a premium every single month. Do I go to the doctor every month? Some women may. We men, mostly we don't, right? So although we're not going to the doctor, we're paying that expense, that premium every single month, just in case we have that big surgery, right? And then when we have that big surgery, that's going to do what? That can be a very big cost that can literally wipe out my FOREX account, wipe out my trading account. I got to sell stocks. I got to take money from my retirement account. I got to liquidate and or leverage my house. This is why we pay those premiums. So yes, you are correct, Carol. Insurance is an expense. Term insurance is an expense, but it gets to a point now where that expense is worth the value that it will provide. Worst case scenario. And my aspect is always plan for the worst and hope for the best. Now I want to talk about what we call a permanent policy. A permanent policy is an asset. Insurance is an asset class. And as we know, and an asset does what? It allows me to either grow and or appreciate my money. And your assets should have a caveat of being able to be leveraged. And when I say leveraged, that means I can put my money into one place. It's making money for me here. Now I can draw off or leverage money from this particular asset or pledge this asset as collateral to get more money to do what? To buy another asset. In other words, that $1 is working more than one time for you. This is the aspects of building wealth. Now, how can insurance be an asset? Well, let's look at it. You have term, which is not an asset. We know it's just an expense, but we understand what it's for and why we should have this expense. But the caveat is that term policy can always be converted over in most policies. And some policies it can be converted over into a permanent policy. And a permanent policy is where ideally I'm going to have insurance forever. Now the premiums that I'm putting away are not just going towards the death benefit, but it's going to this thing called cash value. Who knows what cash value is? Have anybody ever heard that terminology before? Cash value when it comes to insurance policies? All right. Anybody else has heard the term cash value? All right. Okay. So now let's talk about it. Okay. All right, Carol, the amount a person can receive from the policy. Okay. Consider this. That's absolutely correct, Carol, that they can actually access that money from the policy. Now, when it comes to the cash value, this is the asset class. A cash value, consider it as the money you have sitting in your savings account. So the money that you put away in savings, that is actual cash that you can do what? Access for what? Anything, whether it be an emergency, whether it be to buy shoes, whether it be buy clothes, whether it be going out to eat. That's that cash value. Now, when I put that money into my savings account, what actually happens here? It's going to earn some interest, right? But we have to think about what amount of interest I'm really going to get, am I earning on these savings account? Less than 1%. Now I'm making 1%. That 1% is what? Taxable. It's taxable at my federal tax rate, which means I'm paying taxes on that 1% that I'm making. Now, when it comes to that 1%, the money I'm making inside that savings account, can you leverage your savings account? Can you say, bank, I got $10,000 with you. Now I want to take out $9,000 and I still want you to pay me interest on that $9,000 that I took out. Is that possible in a regular savings account? The answer is no. Okay, so now it's taxable. I'm getting a low rate of return. I can't leverage it, but what happens is the inevitable thing happens. I pass. If you were to pass, the $10,000 you have in your savings account, guess what your inheritance is going to receive? That $10,000. Okay. Now, let's just say I'm a nurse. I'm in a litigious field where someone potentially may sue me. Or I have a car accident that exceeds my liability coverage on my actual policy terms. So what happens if I'm sued? The money inside of my savings account is associated and directly tied to my EIN number. Now this money is what? Subject to litigation. Creditors can access this money. Even more, let's go further. I have kids. My kids are going to college. That FAFSA form, when you fill out that FAFSA form, they're going to look at your assets, current, and also your income from the previous year. The money that you have associated in your savings account is going to be added towards what we call the EFC, your expected family contribution, what you're expected to pay out of pocket because you have all these assets inside the savings account. So this is where most of us are putting our money into an FDIC insured bank account, sitting in a savings account. That is your technically cash value inside of a savings account. Now, when we look at an insurance policy, a permanent insurance policy, you can now shift some of the savings, right? You never want to put all your money into any asset class, even insurance. Now, let's say that you shifted the money you're saving and part of your savings into an insurance policy. And when I say insurance policy, that's a permanent policy. There's two types of permanent policies. There's a whole life policy, and there's an a universal life policy. And when we say universal, one of the most known universal type of insurance policies is the Index Universal Life Policy, the IULs. Now, both of these policies have this thing called cash value. So when you make a payment, i.e. premium to these accounts, every single premium that you pay, part of it goes into your cash value. So you're not simply only paying for like this death benefit in a term, like a term policy. So every premium payment you make, it goes into your cash value. Now your cash value is what? It's growing every year. One way it grows is from the contributions that you make per that premium. Now we hear that, man, term insurance is cheap, but a permanent policy is more expensive. Not necessarily. Because the cost of insurance is it's very similar, but the extra cost or the amount that you're actually paying, it goes to what? Your cash value. Now, when the money goes to the cash value, and specifically we're going to talk about whole life insurance policies right now. And whole life insurance policies, that cash value, the premium payments that goes to that cash value, it can earn money two ways. One way it can earn money, there's a stated interest rate on that money. So you're guaranteed to make a rate of return, an interest rate on that money. And guess what? It's normally 3+ times more than what you're making in a savings account. That's already one benefit that you receive, a greater interest rate, a greater return on your money. Number two, you also can receive this thing called a dividend. Dividends are paid out by mutual insurance companies can be paid out every single year from these insurance companies. So now the premiums that you pay the interest that you make, and the potential for dividends, now your cash value is growing 3 different ways. Therefore, the money inside the cash value is going to continue to increase and increase and increase and increase. And as your cash value increases, guess what else also increases? Your death benefit, right? So now your cash value is the money that you can access for anything at any time. Now, let's look at it further. 𝐥𝐢𝐤 can earn dividends, it can earn interest, but the key thing is all the growth, the earnings, it grows tax deferred. So unlike the savings account, you're not paying your federal ordinary taxes on the money that you earn. Unlike a savings account, this is a contract that you have with this insurance company. Therefore, it's not subject to litigation and creditors. It gives another layer of protection of your money. All right. To compare it yet again with the savings account, when you fill out that FAFSA form, they're not looking at the value, the cash that you have inside these life insurance, the cash value policies. To add a little bit more spice to it, God forbid, if you were to pass, the money you have put inside that insurance policy, it bought you a death benefit. Therefore, $10,000 into an insurance policy will get you potentially 10, 20, 30 times more in a death benefit than that $10,000 that your inheritance will receive just sitting in the savings account. So it's all about where you are allocating your money. But this is the kicker of them all. One of the biggest costs that we have in our life is going to be finance charges. That's from credit cards interest. That's from loan mortgage interest, that potentially student loans interest, lines of credit interest. All these interests that we pay out our whole life, it compounds over time. In addition to that, this thing called leverage, being able to use your money more than one time. This helps us expedite our way to building wealth. That cash value that you have built in that insurance policy, you can literally say, insurance company, I got $10,000 inside of my account. I want to borrow $9,000. Do you have to have a job? No. Do you have to have a certain amount of income? No. Do you have to have good credit? No. That cash value, remember, it's your asset. You can get access to that $9,000, boom, within a week. That money is ACH'd without a fee. Now, remember your cash value was $10,000. They gave you a loan for $9,000. You will still earn interest on your full $10,000 inside of that cash value policy. They do charge a simple interest rate to borrow that $9,000, but you're still earning interest on that full $10,000. Now you have that $9,000, and guess what the next thing you should be doing? Buying another asset with that $9,000. So now your money is doing what? It's working twice for you. And this is how we expedite our way to building wealth. But the beautiful thing is, if I'm in the aspects of building wealth and I have a chronic illness, a critical illness, terminal illness, I get to access my death benefit prior to death. So life insurance is not just a death sentence. It's just not a death benefit. Now it's an asset class where I can put away, essentially create it and structure properly as much money as I can to gain that rate of return that's tax deferred, that I can leverage, that buys me a bigger death benefit that's protected from creditors. This is a ideal solution than to having thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars sitting into a savings account, earning almost nothing, and that's subject to creditors. Now, whole life insurance policy, what's guaranteed? The amount of premiums you're going to pay. What's also your death benefit is guaranteed, and your cash value. These things are guaranteed. No matter what happens with the stock market, what happens with the real estate market, no matter what happens to the business, these things are guaranteed when it comes to insurance. And this is how insurance can be an asset class and just not a death benefit. So the key thing is, when I'm starting off early, my budget may be tight, or I need a bigger death benefit because I have younger kids. You get a term policy, and you can mix that with a permanent policy. Or you just get a term policy, and then as your income and your situation changes, you can then convert some or all of that money into a permanent policy, and then start using that insurance as an asset and not just only a death benefit. This is a way we actually use leverage more than once. Insurance is such a powerful foundational asset. And what's sad is a lot of agents do not structure and build these policies correctly. Because if I'm building a policy geared to cash value, you're not going to have a huge, big death benefit. That's not the goal, because the more insurance that you have, the higher the cost it is for insurance. So therefore, we need to position ourselves to where we have these permanent policies as a foundational asset class in our wealth building journey. It's like a bank where we continue piling this money into, and then we need to access that money, even if it's to borrow the money to go buy a car, an auto loan. Now I can borrow that money from my insurance policy, go buy the car cash. I can negotiate better terms. And then now I have the flexibility to pay myself back this interest and to pay back this loan whenever I want to. But although I borrowed that money, I'm still getting interest or interest rate or rate of return on the full amount of cash value that I have in this policy. And this is how we create your own bank. This is the infinite banking concept a lot of people talk about. All right. So insurance is essential. So if you do not have insurance where you are actually using as an asset class, your insurance policy may not be structured correctly. Right. And it's okay. That does happen because of, unfortunately, I've seen a lot of policies where agencies have just not educated clients ideally on how they can use insurance to build wealth. So if you do have an insurance policy, what I want to do is I want to invest in you guys. And by investing into you guys, I will go ahead and take a look at your insurance policies for free. And me looking at your insurance policies, I will give you some feedback on your policies, let you know that you're with a good company. Hey, you got your policy structured correctly. Hey, this is how you can leverage your policy. Or I'm going to tell you, based off this insurance company that you do have, how this policy is structured, you're not leveraging your policy. Because when it comes to a permanent policy, I want your death benefit to be the lowest possible so it can maximize your cash value. And then that cash value, you should borrow money from your insurance policy initially only to buy another asset. This is how we build wealth. This is how you build wealth. So if you got any questions about that particular strategy, or if you have an insurance policy already and you're not sure if it's structured correctly, if you don't know if you have the cash value in your policy or if your cash value is being maximized, I'm going to send you my email and you guys can send over your policy. I'll look it over and I'll give you that feedback on your policy. Now I'm going to put my email right here in our chat. And that's going to be J at 𝐦𝐨𝐬money.secrets.com. That's my email address. You can actually send over your policy. I'll actually take a look at your policy and give you some feedback about your policy and then identify, right? Do you need a term right now or should you have a permanent policy, right? And that permanent policy, should it be a whole life policy or should it be an index universal policy, right? Because either policy you can actually create and structure as your own bank, but it has to be structured correctly, right? Now, I want to go ahead and take a few minutes to, one, address any questions about anything that I've taught or said to you guys tonight about wealth building, specifically with permanent insurance policies. Or I want to take the, and also will take the opportunity to answer any financial or wealth building questions that you guys have, or you guys got me on the line. The chat is open. All right. And don't be shy. Don't be afraid. I am here for you all. Like I said, tonight, officially, I'm working for you all. I got about 5 more minutes and I'm going to clock out. But I'm working for you guys tonight. Right? I want to be that resource that you guys need that can answer financial and wealth building questions unbiased. That's going to help you build wealth and understand financial literacy more so you and your family can be on a path to financial independence. And what is that going to do? Allow you to live life on your own terms. Right? All right. Okay. So that's a great question, Carol. Yeah. Ideally, how can a policy be sent to me? Multiple ways. One of which, yes, you can actually log in online and you can download your statement from the insurance carrier. Once you download it, save it as a PDF, attach it to an email and send it to me. Or B, I got my policy at home. You can actually scan it in your printer, scan it, and then you can email that over to me. Or hey, take good pictures where I can actually see it, right, of all the pages in the policy, and then you can go ahead and email that over to me. And then here's also a tip, right? If you guys can call your insurance company and says, hey, I need an illustration of my in-force policy. And then they'll actually send you an illustration of that policy to show you how it has performed and what they project of how it will perform as well. All right. Insurance it can be a little complex, but yeah. And drop any questions you guys may have in the chat. I am here as a resource. Cool. Yeah. Be pretty simple. Just to send it that way. And then literally you got someone giving you feedback on the policy. So question, how much money should you, what percentage of income should you actually contribute to an insurance policy? That's a good question. Oh, okay. Yeah, you can call your insurance company and you can ask them for an illustration of your in-force policy, right? That illustration of that policy shows you like how it has performed. And yet again, the key word I said is performed. It can show you the interest that you have received, the dividends that you have received. It can show you if you do have a loan out, what the interest rate is on that loan. Have you paid into that interest rate back? It shows you the premiums you paid into that policy. And then it breaks down what we call riders, right? What kind of benefits does insurance policy come with, if it has any? Even with the term policy, right? A term policy will show you, hey, you can convert this policy to a permanent policy, and you only have so many years, right? Ideally, like some of the carriers I work with, like on a 20-year term policy, they give you 15 years to convert it into a permanent policy, right? And you can convert some of that death benefit or all of that death benefit into a permanent policy. So you just call and ask them that information. Yeah, did you have another question, Carol? But percentage-wise, one thing I'm actually coming out within the next two to 3 weeks. I'm going to give you guys also a copy. This copy will be a format, literally a roadmap and a diagram of how you should actually manage and invest your money. And it's going to be very tactful to show you what asset classes you should put your money into first, second, third, and fourth, how you should consider protecting your money, because the worst thing we can do is build something ground up to the top, and then it all comes crashing down because we never had a solid foundation, right? So it's going to give you a good indication of what kind of percentage-wise, right? How much and when should I contribute to my retirement account at my employer? Should I have a Roth or a traditional IRA account, right? How much percentage-wise should I contribute into my insurance policy, right? So these are this is the roadmap I want to create for a lot of people. Why? Because I don't have time to meet and talk with everybody at one time. But the objective is to be able to duplicate myself. And this is one way I can do it, by giving people a roadmap on how to manage their money and how it should actually flow, so it can be leveraged, protected, and grow, but also preserved, and lastly being transferred over to your inheritance. All right, you guys gave me some easy questions tonight, man. I wanted something hard tonight. I want something to stump me. Now, keep in mind, you guys can ask questions about anything, whether it be the stock market, whether it be money at my previous employer, whether it be should I be investing or trading, or predictions on the market. I'm going to give us about 2 more minutes, but if we got no more questions, I'm going to bid you guys farewell and allow you to enjoy the rest of your evening. And let me do a correction on that email. I'm sorry. I got a S behind that. For sure. That is my goal, to give you guys some good information that's useful and that you guys can actually apply this information. All right. So that means your time today was provided somewhat return on your investment. And I do appreciate that. I don't take that for granted. I thank you guys for investing your time with me. Until next week, let's invest.